Hello and a very good afternoon to all of you, and warm welcome to this episode of the Pep Talk. So today I'm coming back on the Pep Talk after a long time. That's because I've been really busy with work and hadn't got the time really to make any presentations for my audiences. But since now I have a little bit of time, I thought let me share something that I'm up to and something that would be really useful for all of you. So today I'm going to discuss about entrepreneurship, particularly uh, about startups. So why this topic? That's a very important question. Now, why this topic is because in the meantime, I've interacted with a lot of people. So what I saw the difference between the past and now is a difference. So when we started off, uh, people wanted to get jobs. That was the top priority. Right now, it's not that that's not the top priority, that is, but uh, somewhere the passion for entrepreneurship and that too in a lot of people have suddenly grown because of a lot of success stories of the startups. So all the youngsters, they want to now become entrepreneurs, they want to now start up and then grow from there, so they have big ambition. So I thought, why not you know choose a topic which is currently going to connect with not only the young generation but also all of the people, because some people have experiences, some people always wanted to be, and they are already trying. So it would be useful for even those who are already into the business. So let's get started. So let me share my presentation with you. Now you can see the presentation itself now, I'm sure. In this presentation, I think it's clearly, what I said about today's topic. That's about the startup. So you know that today it's all about ideas, and planting the seeds of such ideas. And that's what I thought that I'll try and plant and carry on the process of me bringing up important things to my audience through the medium of the pep talk and to all the social media platforms that is available. So now if I'm thinking of a startup, let's put ourselves in the shoes of a youngster who, or anybody who wants to do a startup. Now, from a vision, just ideas is not going to help. So today I'm not actually discussing about how to generate ideas only, but the basics, So because this is a very big subject, so let's start with the basics. So from vision to venture. Now, the thought that is in your mind, from that to actually getting on with it and making it a venture. So the first part definitely is the ideation process. You need to think what you think, what you want to do and what you are interested in, and generate those ideas after your observation, after your creative thought processes and everything. Then you need to plan, because as you know, in our soft skills programs previously also we have talked about the need of planning. Here, all these skills become much more important and much more refined, because you are now going to be the boss and you're not now going to be the real stakeholder of the whole venture. Now, funding is important. So where you can get the funding from and how, what are the basics? I'm not talking about in details. And then obviously without market research, like just after the ideation process, like what do you think of the ideas, need to also at the same time do research of the market. Once you know that, where does the product fit in, how does it resolves the issues, or what are the pain points of people that you're addressing, and what is the something out of the box that you're bringing, something. See, there are two things. One is that your product or services should really solve problems, and that's going to be a hit. And what that product is, what that service, that is depends on the market and the research you do. But then the other flip side of it, that you bring the concept of luxury, fantasy, the concept of wow, through concept of happiness experience, then it doesn't necessarily have to be the pain points, but these are two separate ends of the whole concept. So you can think of it. Then you have the planning of the thing. Once you have thought out, then obviously the documents, legal work. It's so important that we normally have ideas, we do all that, but we somewhere, that's the very, very big thing. And that we'll discuss later, some other day. But just in general, I want to say it's important. And obviously, the funding and the financial part is important. So, how the businesses can start? Now, already I said that the ideas has to have certain aspect where the problem has to address the larger market, not one or 10, 20 people. It has to, reach out to a lot of people and solve a lot of problems. Just like, say, when there was no Uber and then there was Uber, when there was no Swiggy and then there was Swiggy. So there's so many things that never was. And then how we used to feel the difficulties, in terms of travel, in terms of bringing food, reaching out to the restaurants. So many things have become like, for example, the payments that we make online, the gateways, etc. It becomes so smooth because we wanted to do, but there was some problem, and that thing was solved by these companies, this particular, and then later followed other companies. So many things you can think of. Problems has to be repetitive. So it's not that one time you transfer the money or once you took a ride, nothing like that. If you notice, you book a cab, then again you book a cab, then again you book a cab. So it's going on. And the problem has to be a must, that it has to really be a necessity. Like I said, there are two ends of the spectrum. Today, in this video, I'm going to talk about one end where you're looking at the problems and solving the problems through your services and products. Some other day, I will discuss about the other spectrum of the whole thing where it's all about, the imagination, where, you want to just let free yourself through those products. So that's a different thing. Now, the garden of ideas, where this thing come from, because if you notice, if you do research, if you see the gaps in the market and the pain points of people, I think then you are on the right track. Then focusing on specific areas after the identification. So you need to focus on specific areas that you can't solve all problems, can you? So you can, first you start with something that's really important, and then you focus on that after that identification process, and then select your target customers. You have to select that who are my customers, what are the people I'm looking at, that who are going to avail this product. So that's an important thing. So you have to customize your services and products for those audiences and adapt changes. Sometimes, sudden changes comes, or sometimes there is already a product like that. So you need to see, or sometimes there requires a certain tweak, certain aspects, additions or subtractions to make it more apt. So for example, if you see, when the first Google search engine came in, you would search something and it was not very intelligent. Now if you search something, it's more intelligent. So they've adopted to the changes. So look at the smartphones. Initially when it came, if you have used it, you notice that how efficient it is today. And previously, in the first few years, it was not as much as, efficient or quick or fast or easy to use as it is today. So that's the evolution process. Of course, with the changing times, you have to adapt. And what to look at in the beginning. So as I said, this presentation is the basics. So we're looking at what you're looking at in the beginning. Reach out uh, uh, to me later on, other videos to get in details. But today I talk about the basics. So research about the market. So you need, as I said, you have to study the market, talk to people, go to places, use different AI tools, whatever is available to do some good research of the market. An ideal solution for the ideal problem. Because if you have identified the solution, then you must have the problem has to be the solution has to give solution for that problem. So if you know that there's an issue that my product is going to solve, then what is going to be the absolutely perfect solution for that? So then that makes it more appropriate and a very, very big hit in the market. The potential of businesses over a long term. I already said that when you invest, when you start a venture, obviously it's not a short term, it's a long term thing, right? So you need to understand, like, for example, if you see the Amazon shopping thing, so it goes on and on. So it's just that it's when it starts, they've understood the problem, they've done the research, then they started the product, the platform. Initially, it was not as smooth as, or all the products were not there. Later, it became more appealing, more easy to use. Then, then of course, it's been there for so many years now, and it's going on. So because that process is once set, it just rolls on. So the initial part is the difficult part. Then after that, you just move on with it with little changes, and look out for those areas where you can improve. Now, being flexible and adopting, in the beginning. So the beginning part, in a startup is the time where you have to give yourself a lot of chances for, solving or correcting yourself. And not necessarily, some startups being a very good hit right in the beginning, but that doesn't mean that, that's going to be the process. uh, I think it's a better thing that you don't give up on your ideas, and you be really flexible and you really adopt a lot. And if I may also say that, try to be in that mindset that it's okay to make the mistakes. So few things that to keep in mind again is understand the customers, then and their issues. So listen to people, listen to those customers. In fact, you will see that many companies have evolved because of the negligence of other companies, where they have not listened to their customers, and then the better option came up just by listening to the customers. And it was not a fresh idea, but then that particular alternative really something that was a attractive thing, because they were listening to the customers. So taking small steps, and not in a hurry, because there's no point in hurrying up, like doing so many things at a time and expanding a lot. And this is not a competition in that way. The competition is somewhere else. So you need to plan things, and you need to go by your own planning, and not really be perturbed by, influenced by others, and then, or trying to just scale up unnecessarily, unplanned way. There's no need for that. Even if there's a lot of demand, I think it's better that again you sit down and do your planning, and then move forward stepwise, because uh, it's a long-term thing. So today there may be a demand, sudden demand. What about tomorrow? So you need to, again, go slow. Look at the initially essentials, and then beautify the products. Like I said, any product, if you see, you talk about the smartphones, you talk about any other services like the Uber or any other. Initially, it was not as smooth as, but now it's become very pinpointed, because various things are available. Like even on your apps, if you see, initially an app was launched, and not so many facilities were there. And today you can recharge, today you can book a ticket, today you can do so many things apart from just the money transfer from those apps. So these are also products, and they are giving solutions. So lean startup methodology. So here I'm talking about the basics. Here I start with the basics, like how you really start off, and the first few things: build, measure, and learn. So start by creating a minimum valuable product. Like, you need to be a scientist, you need to experiment. So when you start testing that how this idea is going to work out, don't scale up in a big way. See the product, see how it is doing, get a minimum costing behind it, in terms of the product, the marketing, the sales, etc. And then, see that how the performances and the trends are, and then you can scale up and measure. So once you do that, then you have to adopt, because you need to collect data and the feedback from the customers, like I said, that what else they want, what are the improvements that are needed. So that should be a constant process, but initially that's a very big step. And then learn. So you need to also analyze, you need to go in that direction and keep going, because you have to be very focused and confident about your own goals. And as I said, give yourself a space for correction, and change if required, but that doesn't mean give up the idea. So here's the lesson for entrepreneurs and startups, young people. who had started up a business, a venture, and then they couldn't find success, and then they went backwards. Look at the processes. Like, have you done the minimum value product part where you created the product or the services, and then you had done some research on that, and then you have collected the feedback and data of the customers, then you have made changes and what is required, rather than really give up the idea. That's very easy to do and very difficult to keep going, because you will find success, but some people find it early on, some people at the middle stage, some people later. Depends on the market, depends on your product, depends on the situation. Everything matters. Now, here, in a diagram, I'm going to just show you that how this is done. Develop a basic product version. Like I said, don't invest a lot, just a basic. See how it goes, measure performances, assess the market response, take the feedback of the customers, adjust strategy based on these data, and then analyze these feedbacks for the insight and adopt accordingly. Now, how you want to do a startup, that's fine, but building a brand is also important, because it's the brand which sells. It's trusted and it's remembered. You can make a comeback later if you have the brand as well. So branding is important. So brand identification for people is the important thing. It's so many companies, so many brands. So how you're going to be identified, and that's going to be the challenge. And because initially you might have a very good product, but you can easily get lost in the market. So you need to identify your brand. So the first step is have a very creative logo, which is very interesting and is very simple and eye-catching. For whom? For those customers that you're looking at. And the colors in those logos are important. Then typography and design styling. So styling is important, fashion is important. Today's age and day, people love fashion, people love these designs. So you need to have that products, the packaging of those products, or the websites that you're using, or any of the marketing tools or visual effects. I think it has to be very simple, but at the same time, it has to be a particular design which is related to the product, the logo, the color scheme, and the style of what you stand for. Then the brand voice, how you portray your brand, and what is the message behind your product, your brand, your services, your motto of your organization. That's important. People don't buy only products all the time. They also buy the ideas, the history, the stories. So what is the message you are giving, and the vision, and how you are going to adopt some of the core values, say the customer service, or customer first policy, or adapting to changes, or being twice as return on investment on your products, concern about customers, empathy. These are some of the values that you may have, and what is the experience you're creating for the customer when he is using, she is using the product. So while buying it, or while asking about it, while even using it, while coming back for after sales services, how the customer experiences is and is related to your brand identity. So here you can see the brand management strategies of effective brand oversight, brand foundation, unique identity distinguishing from competitors. As I said, you shouldn't get lost in the market. And then key components, the name of your organization, the design, the symbols, the identity itself, and what you stand for is all in sync. Steps to create this brand identity. So define your brand and purpose and value. Then ask questions to yourself and then express it. Why does my brand, that is your brand, exist in at all? What values drive your business? What impacts do you want to make on the market, the people? Then design a memorable visual identity. As I said, that whatever you are putting up on social media, or it's going out to customers, what is the visual effects it has, whether it is creating a memorable experience or not, identity or not, and it's solving the purpose or not. So the logos, it should be nice and recognizable, simple, yet versatile, and it could be recognized and identified separately from other products. The colors, the thing that colors play a very big magic. So how you're using that colors subtly way, in terms of the writing, the text, the design of the brochures, or even the office infrastructure, and everything is so important. So brand identity, core elements of defining your brands, memorable brand name, unique and recognizable name, logo design, visual presentation of your brand, messaging. So communicating through the brand, your values to the customers, and online visibility is important, and engaging with people. Then I come to this important part. I know this is not so exciting as the first part, but this is important. It comes, with all that excitement, this commitment comes as a financial and legal part, startup budgeting and cost planning. And later I may try and bring to you also about how to maintain the balance sheet, and how to read the balance sheet, and how to understand the business cycle, and the profits and all that thing. So the liabilities, so many things come with it. But initially, I'll not bore you with all that, but I just tell you that startup budgeting is important and cost planning is important, because then you can see that, where you stand after a year of your startup. Then find funding options. So who's going to fund you? How you're going to do that? From where are you going to get the money? So there's so many options. There are banks, there are NBFCs, there are NGOs, there are government bodies. So how you are going to place your organization, and in that line, what are the projects you want to do, and how you can bring that funding. And financial forecasting is important. That's how the investments and the investors would be interested. And a legal registration agreement, IP, so important, so important. So you need to take care of these things. As I said, today the basics of this PowerPoint presentation, so I don't want to get into details of it. Later I may try and bring a lot more to you. So venture, but in general, what are the options in this registration part? And the funding sources, So venture capital. If I'm a venture capital company, then fund high growth startups for equity with potential for large investments. So venture capitals have a potential for large investments. Then crowdfunding, raise small amounts from many people, of course, within the framework of the law, building communities. So this may be like, as I said, the rural NGOs, how they may work. Loan and grants. So loan is separate, grants are separate. If you're NGO, you can opt for the grants. Otherwise, the loans offer traditional funding like potential government support. There are so many rural organizations and startups and companies and NGOs who avail all that. Then angel investors here provides capital for equity. So if you're a public limited company, then all this part comes into play, offering mentorship. So you also, there are big MNCs which then help these companies, by funding them. So and growing these organizations. So that is one. Bootstrapping, use personal savings or revenue, maintaining full control. That's like a sole proprietorship where you start your own business with your own money, and you have the full understanding and the full control of the revenues. But I would say that you need to keep that as the last option, because I think there are lots of opportunities today in the market, how you can get the funding, and depends on what type of organization you are looking at and what's the future you're looking at. So multifaceted importance of financial records, legal compliances, informed decisions, email, effective financial management, and performance tracking and audit preparation. So these are some of the aspects of the financial records also that you need to, because compliance is important to all the documents, all the rules, all the, if you need a trade license, get it done. To renew that, you can get it done. So if you don't have the documents as per law, that's a big problem. So you need to take care of that. Whatever decisions you're taking in terms of loan, in terms of payments, in terms of supplies, you need to also do it within the framework of the law, after taking consultants from those who are experienced and understand this process. Effective financial management, here use the software as well as manpower in terms of accounts and accountants to keep the ledger, keep the balance sheet. That's very important because that's what is going to help you get those loans fast. And then performance tracking of yourself, your organization, and your employees, and of course comparing with the goals and what you've achieved. And do get all these things audited, because you don't want a third party to come in and ask you of the documents. It's better that you audit them and get them ready, because even you can file for the tax returns based on the financial, records. So basic structures of business, as I discussed, depends on the funding you're getting. It also depends on what kind of structure, whether you are sole proprietorship and of course your own money, own account, own investment. I think that's how they do it. You keep your, the whole control with yourself, and then you slowly diversify or you continue in that way. But there is a risk in the sole proprietorship business, which again I want to discuss later on. Partnership is a better option. Shared profit and liability among partners, but just don't start a partnership. I'll again discuss this later, hopefully someday, that how you need to get yourself trained to be a partner. And then corporations, the corporates. So limited liability, but more regulatory requirements. And finally, limited liability company, LLC, and which is the liability protection with flexible taxation. So that's all from me today. I hope you've really enjoyed this video and it was useful for you. That's the reason I made this video. And I would love to listen from you. Please do write to me and do contact me for more on this. And I promise that I will be bringing more on this. Of course, if I see that all of you are really wanting it. Thank you so much. And I hope you have a wonderful day and keep watching the Pep Talk. It's been a long time, but I've missed you and I hope you've missed the Pep Talk.